There we go.
Hello there, Jim Feist, along with Andy Isco. We're here in Las Vegas. It's warm. It's not terribly hot. We're not at 100 today, Andy. But I'll tell you where it was really hot last night, and it was Madison Square Garden. That was
Yeah.
a hell of a battle. And we've had the two sports that are really lighting it up right now, the NBA and the NHL. And we got
Both
an
providing
NHL.
outstanding entertainment so
Yes, I
far.
mean, really, these games have been, whether you like the officiating or you like whatever you like or you don't like, it's conversational. The battles, I mean, we got probably the making of a dynasty in San Antonio. These are all kids like 21, 22 years old, including Wemby. And you can't just say he's the whole team. They got a lot of good players on that team. Castle and Vassell, and that's just so many good teams. And the Knicks, of course. Madison Square Garden was the place last night, and man, the security was tight. The president, of course, got there, and that made it a little bit even more security wise. So it was
The
very,
only
very.
people, the only people who were upset were the people who couldn't attend the watch party that they've been having outside Madison Square Garden during the playoffs, and the fact that they closed those. I think it was like 30th to 35th Street and 6th Avenue to 8th Avenue, which affected a lot of people also who weren't going to the game but were going to Penn Station to take the trains either back out to Long Island or upstate New York or over to New Jersey. That provided a great inconvenience. And the thing is, with so many people, you're not talking about affecting 5,000 people. You're expecting you're affecting like 30,000 people who live in that area and require that transportation. But it didn't stop us from enjoying the game.
No, it was a great game. The argument today, of course, is the disparity in fouls called. I
Yep.
believe 24 and 8 was the situation in the second half or the fourth quarter, whatever it was, where the Spurs had a big advantage. But these games are like that, and it was game 3. Spurs were in desperate mode because they were down 2-0, and they had to come in there for the with their pants on fire, because if you go down 3-0, you're pretty well done. Now it's a 2-1 series. We know we're going back to San Antonio after game 4. We don't have a decision, of course, on that yet. And in that game, we're looking
We do
at
have a yeah, we have a line now where we saw that some of the places that opened the Knicks 1.5. I'm seeing it up to 2 in a lot of places. That seems to be the pretty current numbers, although the offshore places, I'm actually showing FanDuel having the Knicks at 1.5, and DraftKings right now showing 2.5. But here in Vegas, it's pretty much a solid 2, and the total seems to be a solid 216.5. I see 217. I see 216. The offshore numbers, the DraftKings and FanDuel are both 216.5. So pretty much expecting a game somewhat similar to last night as far as the line goes.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to worry about the point spread. You can just bet the money line no matter what you
Yeah.
like. I mean, just stay away from the point spread in case it's close. It's Wemby is obviously extremely talented. Everybody can see that. You don't need me to tell you that. I like when he plays down low. He can, on defense, he just affects everything.
Yeah.
And on offense, it allows the guards, and they have some good ones, to throw some lob passes in there. He gets some offensive rebounds. This guy is a major find for San Antonio.
Well, he opens the court up for the rest of the offense because the defense has to be aware of him every moment, and it's tough to double team a guy of his size and ability. But some teams have to be forced to do it and take their chances. That when you play a team like San Antonio with a guy like Wemby, you're basically hoping that your offense is going to be able to be good enough to win those games.
Let me mention, this is shows brought to you by Dom DeMarco's, 9785 West Charleston here in Las Vegas. Great Italian food, not only pizza, great Italian food, wine bar, beer, the whole thing. They have an outside patio, which we broadcast from live, well, every Wednesday during the football season. So visit there if you can. Come to Vegas. Make sure you go there, 9785 West Charleston. But talking about Wemby, I think people talk too much about Wemby. That team has 4 or 5 players that are rather young that are all very, very good. Harper, Vassell, Castle. I mean, these guys, I think Ford is one. I can't remember. Is that his name? Ford?
Ford or Fox?
It's Fox. It is Fox.
Yeah, De'Aaron Fox. Yeah. Hey, last night they had, Wemby had 32. They had 5 other players in double figures.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd like to see that kind of balance. One of them, it was Castile, had Castle had 23. The others all had 11, 12, 13 points. That kind of balance is what keeps you in games and often wins you games.
You give these players the kind of experience they're getting right now, and I don't think there's going to be much of an argument that they're the best team in basketball. Right now, the Knicks have some great players on their team, but they're getting a little older. They've been seasoned. Knicks are still, look at the point spread. When the game is in San Antonio, 5.5, 6-7 on San Antonio. When it's in New York, it just tells you what the odds makers think.
Well, I'll be interested to see what happens for the point spread in Game 5, because remember, the San Antonio was a solid almost a 2-1 favorite after they were even higher before we knew the finals to win the series. So the fact that they were 5.5, 6 in that range in Game 1 made sense based upon the perceptions coming in. They just knocked off the defending champions and all that. They lose Game 1. Okay, now they're down looking to avoid 0-2, so they're pretty much priced the same as they were in Game 1. I'll be interested to see, let's say the series goes back even 2-2, what the line is, because I think the Knicks have gotten some sort of respect from the lines makers, and maybe we saw it in the fact that they were favored at home despite being up 2-0 against supposedly the favorite team coming into the series. That I'll be interested to see whether it's 3-1 New York or 2-2 if San Antonio doesn't come up maybe a 4.5 point favorite instead of 5.5 or 6.
Well, I think if San Antonio wins this game on Wednesday as a right now 2-point dog, for the most part, 2-point underdog, you're going to put the emphasis back on the Knicks to bounce back after losing 2 straight home games.
Now it's a best 2 out of 3 with 2 of the games in San Antonio. If it's 2-2.
It's really a great contest. And, we're talking the other day about how that's Karl Anthony Towns, was the best player on the floor for the Knicks. Well, last night he disappeared. I don't know what he didn't get.
That was part of San Antonio's adjustments during the time off.
Exactly.
It's literally sports, especially like basketball, all sports. They're like chess masters. Okay, New York controlled games 1 and 2, so San Antonio makes the adjustments. It worked in Game 3. Now the Knicks have to make the adjustments to counteract what San Antonio did in Game 3. It's fascinating.
It is, and it comes down to the coaches making there are choices.
Yeah.
How do you do this? How do you do
combinations?
That? Who do you play in this position? How many minutes do you give to this player versus that player, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, there was Game 2. What's the kid's name? Harper or
Josh Hart?
Oh no, I'm talking about the kid for San Antonio. Is really a good player. Harper.
Harper, yeah.
He only played 3 minutes in the fourth quarter, and he's a magnificent player. Why did the coach have him on the? It was a very tight game. The Knicks only won it by 1. Why did they?
Well, they made up for it last night. He played 32 minutes last night.
Right, exactly. So you go from, I don't get that. I don't know what the coaching thinking was in that game, but consider the game. And he's such a great. I mean, they have a lot of very good players. The rest of the leagues watching this and say, we got to make some moves or we're not going to ever compete with these guys. Um, so game 4, is this a bounce back for the Knicks? Is this, we got
No,
our ass beat?
I mean they played well last night, even after their sloppiness in the first quarter, and go back to let me see where I have it here from last
They had
night.
13 turnovers in the game.
Yeah, they outscored San Antonio after being down by 11 at home in the first quarter. They outscored them by 18 in the second quarter to take that 7-point lead at halftime, and then San Antonio came back, and I believe it was a 1-point game going into the fourth quarter. So it came down to the fourth quarter. That was a low-scoring quarter, 23-20. The Spurs outscored them. So it was a competitive game for basically the fourth quarter. Yeah, there were a little bit of swings, 6 points, 7 points here or there, but it came down to it, and San Antonio made the plays at the very end, which they needed to do.
Now, we know that NBA basketball and to some degree college is a game of runs. They get on a run, will score 12 points in a row, and the other team
Yeah.
won't score at all. But the game,
I think it was Clark Kellogg who coined the phrase spurtability, which I think is such an accurate description, especially, and it really applies, I'd say, only in basketball, because the way the points are scored, you can wipe out a 10-point deficit in, minute 15.
Right, you're right. The disparity in fouls was probably the key element, and that's where the coach Brown was complaining. And
well, it's interesting for the game. The total fouls were actually 23 on the Knicks and 21 on the Spurs. The thing is, though, that San Antonio was fouled situations where they were getting free throws, and when they were fouling the Knicks were not going to the line.
Yeah, makes a big difference.
Or missing the first of one-on-ones.
The first 2 games went under by quite a bit.
Yep.
The shooting was lame down in San Antonio. They were not hitting very. They were last night, which was my play, which was I went over 215 and a half. That's what I had in the game, and this game is 216 and a half for the most part. So I mean, it's hard to say. What are the officials going to let happen, or how they're going to let them play? Up tempo, down tempo. What favors who? What do you think?
I would think we may see something very similar to what we saw last night, although I don't think we'll see the disparity in the number of foul calls as far as affecting free throws, because I think that's been a point. I did not get a chance to read what do they call it, the 2-minute report that the officials file after every game to sort of explain certain situations and why this happened, why that didn't happen. But I think it's going to be a situation again where it's going to be a physical game, and the Knicks will have to find a way to contend with Wemby, who seemed to play his best game of the series last night. He had 32 points, did not reach double digits in rebounds or assists, but still led the team. Any of these first 3 games could have gone either way. The only game with a quote-unquote misleading final score was that first game where the Knicks won 105-95 because they scored the last 11 points of the game. Otherwise, these games were all close. The Knicks scored, I think there was 2:16 left in the fourth quarter when the Knicks went on that 11-0 run. And then, of course, the last 2 games were a lot tighter in the final 2 minutes as well. So this has been a very competitive series, which is what a lot of us thought. I played the Knicks because to win the series because I thought the price was too high on San Antonio, given what the Knicks have done throughout the playoffs, and the fact that San Antonio was extended against OKC, which I don't think is a factor at this point. They've now played 3 games in this series. They've had the travel day with an extra day of rest. They had 2 nights off instead of just 1. But I still like the way that the Knicks are playing. They're finding the open man and getting good shots. They were sloppy last night in turnovers. That's something that I think can be corrected, because again, I think a lot of the turnovers had to do with the San Antonio defensive intensity at the start of the game, and maybe a little bit of nerves on the part of the Knicks, who came into this game expecting to win. You had all the celebrities in there, and in the first few rows, and they're all taking selfies with one another. You had the president up there drawing a lot of attention. You had just a lot of festivities going on that, those who said the pressure was on the Knicks, I think that's why they said it, because the pressure was really on San Antonio, down 0-2 and looking to avoid 0-3 and having to win 4 straight, which had never been done before in the NBA. And I think also this is only the 6th time in the NBA history finals, going way, way back, that the first 2 games of the series have been won by the road team in a best-of-7 series, and none of the other 5 ever came back to win. So now at least San Antonio can say, okay, we can make it a best-of-3 series by winning Game 4, and there's no reason to think they can't win Game 4 because of the fact that the first 3 games, and again, I talk about that misleading final in the opener because it was a 1-point game with under 2.5 to go, that either of these teams can win. It's a very well-matched series. I like the way the Knicks have played overall, and that's why I'm going to be on them in Game 4. However, if they, if this game goes back to San Antonio, I'm thinking that I might play San Antonio regardless of the result in Game 4, meaning that if they're down 3-1, I think they come back with a big home effort in Game 4. And if it's 2-2, the momentum will have switched. And now all of a sudden, the Knicks might be in a situation where, hey, we had our chances to take a commanding lead, and twice we didn't do it in Games 3 and 4. So I'm almost looking at playing the Knicks in Game 4 and playing the Spurs in Game 5.
I might look at it differently. If New York loses 2 games in a row, I think it's going to be difficult for San Antonio to make it a 3-game streak over the Knicks. I think that might be difficult. And plus, you're going to be getting points with the not that the points matter very much in these games, but you'll be getting an underdog price on New York in San Antonio. So, but we still got to get through Game 3.
And by the way, a lot of what I said also depends how Game 4 is won.
That is true. I'm going to look at this game to go over the total again, as I did last night. Brunson has been having some difficulty because the defense is so tough on him. He's a smaller player. You got the guards for San Antonio playing in his face, it's making it very difficult for him. But Karl Anthony Towns had a really bad game. Wemby took advantage of him in every way, shape, or form, and he just had a bad game, disappeared. And
4 for 10 from the field.
And
that's not even a lot of attempts.
People were talking about him as being the most valuable player going into the game, and he certainly didn't show up in that respect. So I think he's going to bounce back. We're seeing a lot from OG and Anunoby. Hart played extremely well. Got some off the bench play for the Knicks that could have been a little bit better, and I think it will be. I like this game to go over. I'm not going to pick a side at this moment, but my leaning is I'm leaning New York money line, but I'm going to think about it a little bit more, but I definitely like the over. I'm going to go with the over. Now, we got a sport that I do not follow, and I always try to be honest with this. I don't normally bet hockey, but a lot of people do. It's a big sport. This has been a hell of a series. I have watched the games because it's the Las Vegas team, and so a lot of my friends and love this Golden Knights team. Andy, I'm sure that you know a lot more about hockey than I do. I mean, this has been high scoring, but unbelievable numbers. And what I do know about hockey is, and I'm just going to ask the question, is this poor goaltending? Goal. Is that what you call it, goaltenders?
Yeah, it's.
Or is this the offenses are that good?
I think the offenses are that good because they both like to play an aggressive up and down the ice style. So generally, although and we've seen it really throughout the playoffs, the Golden Knights have not been great at getting many shots on goal. They've been outshot in a number of these games, sometimes by a decent margin. But that Game 3 the other night, may have been the wildest or the weirdest game in NFL and NHL history. It was a scoreless first period, and then the Golden Knights scored 4 goals in the second period, including a hat trick by Marner, I believe, in a 6-minute stretch, which I think set a record for an individual hat trick by any player in the finals, which goes back 108 years. And then I think what happened in the third period, which has been a great period for the Knights throughout the season, you're up 4-0, and I think they just shut it down a little bit. And Carolina took advantage. They scored, I forget exactly what the time was, but they ended up during that stretch when they made it from 4-0 to 4-3. The 3 goals they scored were within 39 seconds, which is unheard of. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that was also a record for a team scoring 3 goals in the finals in 39 seconds. In fact, I think if I remember correctly, I don't think there had ever been a situation where a team who had a 4-goal lead lost the game. And of course, the Knights won it in the second overtime. But it was just a very unusual game. One thing that impressed me about Carolina, and it seems to me, especially on power plays, that Carolina has been much more aggressive. Even though the Knights have been very good at killing them off, when I look at Carolina on a power play, they seem to be much more aggressive in attacking the net than when the Golden Knights have a power play. Both of them have not, I think Carolina had scored on 2 power plays, but that has not been the nature through this series, where I think both teams have struggled when they've been on the power play. And of course, that's an important part of the game. The game right now for tonight's game 4 is pretty much even, although the places that, and when I take a look, and let me call it up here on the screen, Westgate has uses a 10-cent line, and they actually have Carolina minus 107, the Knights 103. Circa uses a 12-cent line, minus 109 for Carolina, minus 103 for the Golden Knights. Other places in town have it at minus 110 each way. The FanDuel, the National FanDuel and DraftKings, FanDuel has minus 113 on Carolina, minus 106 on the Knights, and DraftKings with a little bit 1 cent larger of a spread, minus 115 Carolina, minus 105 on the Golden Knights. In-game wagering on hockey is a lot different than in-game wagering on the other sports, because of the lack of scoring in a typical hockey game. It's not like basketball, where we talked about the runs, the spurt ability, where a 10-point lead can be a 10-point deficit within the span of a quarter even. So you have many opportunities. You don't have those kind of opportunities in hockey, because a typical hockey game may involve 5 or 6 goals, on average. So you don't get that many opportunities. So maybe more opportunities in hockey would represent the total rather than the side. So not sure I'm going to do anything in this game, which gives me an opportunity to root for the Knights.
Well, I'm looking at, and I'm totally surprised that the under 6 under 15 is pretty much standard. There's a couple of even 5.5s.
Yeah.
You see the first 3 games. I mean, my God, I can't ignore.
I played a lot of the Carolina games in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs under the total, for the very simple reason that the totals in those games were more 5.5s than they were 5s. 5s I'm probably not going to take a play, because it takes 4 goals or less for me to win. Okay, at 5.5, I can afford a 5th goal, and I can afford a 2-2 game going overtime. This series started out, I did play and lose the under in the first game when it came out under 6. Have not played the total since then, because of the fact that we have seen such a wide open offenses.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the total again. I mean, this is Carolina. If these teams seem like they're really close. I mean, the funny thing is, the NBA and the NHL, these teams are really very tight, and we're having some good series. And
the thing that's interesting is that the Golden Knights in the regular season did not even win half their games. They were 39-26 with 17 overtime losses, for which you get a point. 2 points for a win and 1 point for an overtime loss. So the Golden Knights had 95 points. Compare that to Carolina. They won 53 of their 82 games. They ended up with 53 wins, 22 losses, 7 overtime losses. So they ended up with 113 points. That's a huge spread between two Stanley Cup finalists, but that's how well the Golden Knights played once they made that, I guess I'll put it in quotes at this point, controversial firing of Bruce Cassidy, who led them to the Stanley Cup championship just 3 years ago. But John Tortorella, veteran coach, won a title back about 24 years ago. I think it was with Tampa Bay. Proven coach, and he came in. I think they went 7-0-1 in their last 8 regular season games, and then they've played extremely well in the playoffs. So based upon what we've seen really throughout the playoffs, because remember, Colorado, best team in the West, and the Knights swept them 4 straight. For the regular season, Carolina was much the better team. Okay? But in the playoffs, in the entirety of the playoffs, and we've seen it again in this series, these are 2 evenly matched teams, at least based upon how they've played, not just in this series, but through the entire playoffs.
And I think that's what's going to continue. I think that we're talking ancient history when we go back too far with these two. They're both playing great, 2 good coaches. The coaching change obviously was a positive. I'm gonna go with now. This is me. I don't follow hockey, so I'm being honest up front with this. I favor Carolina in this game. Obviously, the money is favoring Carolina a little bit as well, and I favor the over. I can't. The way these guys are scoring, if it's really the offenses that are so dominant and the goaltenders are just not, and we don't know who's going to be play in goal for the Carolina, because they had a change there that was impressive. If I think the guy that came in blocked, he stopped 16 out of 17 shots on goal. But I
haven't seen anything as far as the expected goalies quite yet.
So I mean, I'm gonna just go with what's been happening. I like the over.
They are expecting that. I just saw here right now, expected but not official, that was it Bussey for Carolina, who came in relief, is expected tonight.
That would make sense.
As is Carter Hart, who's been playing, like 100 straight games for the Knights and playing generally very, very well.
Very physical games, very fast-paced games. I'm going to stay with the over, and you can find some 5.5s, and I just don't see it staying under 5.5. But there's a lot of things going on. We have golf going on, and there's some good golf out there. But one thing we don't have is Scottie Scheffler winning every week, and that's unusual, because the last few years it's pretty much Scottie or no Scottie. Now, but we're seeing somebody different every week, and it's interesting to see this. The golf world is changing. The new guys are coming up, and there's some great stories about how people have suffered and struggled.
Let's not feel too sorry about Scottie Scheffler yet. Top 10 finish this year.
He's probably still leading in money.
$12 million this year, and that is first, and probably by a margin. Top 10 finishes this year, 7. That's second. Top 25 finishes, 12. That's first.
So we're not going to start We're not going to start a GoFundMe for him.
No, not even for the caddy.
Okay.
If they get that 10%, which I think is what it is, that's over $1 million he's made, and we're not even halfway through the year.
Wow.
The caddy.
He's a great player, been number 1 for a long time, but he seems to be a little bit.
Next week we get to talk about the U.S. Open for a little bit, because that starts next week.
That's right.
The third major of the 4.
Then you got the college baseball World Series. You got tennis. There's a lot of things going on that we don't focus on. So I'm not going to try to be an expert and advise anybody on anything that I don't bet myself. What else do we have?
We have baseball today, but nothing has hit my fancy as far as that goes. Yesterday was a good day for me in in baseball. I haven't really done all my deep dives, although I do like Garrett Cole pitching for the Yankees against Cleveland tonight. He's looked pretty sharp in his first few starts for the season. I'm trying to, if I can call up what he did his last start. Um, he, I think, may have
Or
had his.
he's very
He had four. Yeah, last start, 5 1/3 innings was the weakest of his first three starts. But he's still showing that he's getting back. In fact, he came off a 10 strikeout, 0 walk performance the start before, and maybe that last performance, he's coming off that injury. Maybe that's reflected in the line, which I'm showing, for example, at a lot of places. I'll go with Circa. Opened Cole -130. And it's down to -116. Of course, no Aaron Judge for the Yankees for probably a good month and a half, but they're still a very solid team, and they've been getting decent performances around. So I'm going to take a look with an eye towards playing Garrett Cole tonight.
well for the Yankees. That's a cheap price. That's but the Guardians are having a very good year themselves, and they
Well, let me put it. People may not realize this. The Yankees are 39-26. Cleveland's 37-31. They're not that far behind.
no, they're very good. They're a very good team.
Although, to be fair, the American League Central with Cleveland, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, and the White Sox is a relatively weak division. Although the White Sox have been a very nice surprise team, and I've cashed a number of tickets this year when they've had a couple of their better pitchers going. But the Yankees have a nice edge in pitching tonight, and I think that is a nicely attractive price. And maybe they're tempting you, but
Interesting.
I have to believe a lot of the wise guys are the ones who played it early, because they're usually the ones who take advantage of the overnight lines. And if that thing opened 130 and down to 116, I can't see it being the public playing it this early.
Yeah, I think you got most of the wise guys looking for Cleveland to bounce back here. They got a pretty good pitcher on the mound as well, and Judge is going to make a difference. I mean, he's a monster player, and
yeah,
and it's gonna make a big difference.
Guy who's been a nice surprise for the Yankees this year, and I remember the year he had that outstanding year when he first came up with the Dodgers, Cody Bellinger, having a very good year for the Yankees.
Well, he's a hell of a player.
Yeah. I think they said, I read one of the obscure stats, but it just caught my attention. He leads American League outfielders. I don't know why they break it down that way, in RBIs with like 41.
Huh.
Unless he had some last night.
Interesting. Let's see if there's anything else that sticks out to me. Seattle, Gilbert's a hell of a pitcher, but they opened 126 and pretty much hanging there. There's no big movement that I see. We do have the WNBA going on. I've been doing fairly well with that. I had the Mystics last night. We've got 3 or 4 games today. 3. I think there's 3. Yeah. And Minnesota has been one of the best teams, but Dallas is not chopped liver. They're pretty good. But
Minnesota is 9-2. Dallas is 6-3. And this may look a little cheap at home, so you would know better than I would. Minnesota is only a 4.5-point favorite. It opened 3 and 3.5.
Right, and I see 1.5 out there as well. The Atlanta is a very good team, the Atlanta Dream.
Yeah.
And they opened 6.5, went up to 8.5, 9. And I kind of agree with that. I think Chicago's pretty bad. And this is Atlanta with Angel Reese coming back to Chicago. This is a homecoming.
Now, how did she leave Chicago? Was it a trade or free agent?
Good question. Don't know.
But that might make a difference. I would think that she'd come back with a little bit more intensity if it was a trade where the Chicago said, we're getting rid of you for whatever the reason, whoever they got, as opposed to leaving of her own volition.
She was a controversial player last year. She gotten all kinds of garbage, and Anna's way better. I mean, Chicago's not a good team. One of the worst teams in the league, along with Connecticut.
Oh boy, talk about a franchise that's
Oh,
had fallen on hard times the last few years.
well, yeah, definitely. Um, we're not talking about the men's college basketball.
We're not talking about the women's college basketball team either. We're talking about the WNBA team.
Right,
They had
exactly.
pretty good teams for a number of years, but it's been 3-4 years since I think they've not been a factor.
Andy, if there's nothing else, we can sign off for this week, and we're going to be talking about the NFC West.
I will mention that I did make a play on the Netherlands to win the World Cup. Not that I follow it all that closely, but I followed the Netherlands for a number of years. They've always had a good team, and they're never talked about because, they're not a France or an England or a Brazil or an Argentina. But they've always been pretty steady. It has been a long time since they lost in the finals, but they're generally a team that can make it into the round of 16. And once you get there, depending on where the screen played, and I think there's an advantage for a lot of the teams this year because it's not being played in Europe or South America. It's being played here in North America.
All right. That is not a sport that I've ever bet, but I try to focus on a few of them.
I told you what my thoughts were. That I don't want to make a joke at the expense of those people who love soccer.
Well, I think it's a great sport. It's probably the most, I don't know, is it the most
popular sport in the world? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great. I mean,
the thing I don't like about it is, first of all, the field is huge and they have 11 players. So it's very, very difficult to even have the kind of connectivity and synchronicity that you have, like even in hockey, when you got 5 players skating down the ice and they still manage to be in position. So 90 minutes is an awful long time for a game that I mean, it is a beautiful game when you look at it aesthetically, but it's we as Americans, U.S. people, we're used to high scoring events, and soccer, of course, has been around for hundreds of years, and of course that's why it's the most popular game in the world. But I would like to see it played maybe more like indoor soccer, where I think there's a little bit more. It's a little bit more entertaining than that. But then again, the people, I'm not a soccer aficionado. I'm not that overly familiar with it. But I will watch the World Cup.
Well, you're going to get nasty letters in the mail. Not. Andy,
I'll probably have a lot of people rooting against the Netherlands now because of that.
You're probably right. Thank you, everybody that's watching. We'll talk to you. We'll be back on with the Playbook show on Friday. We're going to be analyzing the NFL West. There's some pretty good teams in the West.
NFC West, yes.
NFC West, I'm sure. Yeah, the NFC West.
3 Super Bowl contenders in Arizona.
That's exactly right. And we have the Rams have jumped up because they put a big defensive player on Garrett on their squad, and that's monstrous. And so we'll talk to them.
And now there's more talk that Aaron Donald will be suiting up for the Rams this year.
That's
the rich getting richer.
Oh my goodness, yes, that's absolutely true.
But
talk to you later, Andy. Thank you.
The beauty of football is it is the essence of a team game, because there's so many functions that have to be performed in unison.
True story. And money talks, right?
Yep. That's why in the history of the sport, there's only been one unbeaten team, and it was the Miami Dolphins when they played a 14-game schedule. It's just so difficult in such a physical game to go through without a slip up somewhere.
True.
I won't say slip up, but with less than your premier effort, your best effort.
Talk to you later, Andy. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.